Monoprice is often a good option for budget electronics. It has great prices on cables, and I've been a huge fan of the dark matter 49-inch monitor that I've been using for the past few years. Today we have the Monolith by Monoprice M1000ANC Bluetooth headphones. And at $130 they pack in some great features like up to 60 hours of battery life, ANC, and Dirac HD spatial audio. But it still does have a little bit of that budget Monoprice flavor. Let's check it out. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Toys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Now a little bit more about Monoprice. Besides these budget electronics, they do have quite the extensive lineup of audio gear. And most of it falls under the Monolith by Monoprice sub-brand. Everything from headphone amps to subwoofers and tower speakers can be found on their website. On the headphone side of things, there are options for in-ear monitors, wired headphones, planar headphones, and ANC Bluetooth headphones like the M1000ANC we have here. So first off, let's take a look at the design of these headphones. Overall, it's pretty nice and subtle. They aren't too large, and the headband is nice and thin thanks to the lightweight nature of these headphones. The ear cups can rotate 90 degrees out so that the drivers are facing forward when I place them on my shoulders. And they also kind of fold in to be more compact when putting them in the included carrying pouch. On the driver covers inside the ear cups there is a large L and R to quickly reference which side is left and right. And this is a nice feature that I appreciate, as sometimes I feel like I have to hunt to find out which side is which. The headband expands with notched positions for sizing adjustments. There also appears to be plenty of flexibility in the headband for expanding the ear cups when putting the headphones on and taking them off. Moving on to controls, on the M1000ANC they're a combination of physical and touch capacitive buttons. On the right ear cup, from top to bottom, there first is a three-way switch for ANC. In the middle is off. If you push it down, this is the low mode for ANC, and up is high. Next up is a physical button that will toggle on and off the Dirac Virtuo Spatial mode, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later. Below that, a single button handles powering on the headphones and Bluetooth pairing. And my only issue with this is that powering on the headphones takes about a 2-second press. Then there's an audio cue at 3 seconds, but turning on the pairing mode also takes about 3 seconds. So if you're holding that button down, by the time the audio cue, turns on to let you know that the headphones have been turned on, you're already in that pairing mode. And I did this quite a few times. After a while, I did get used to it, but it still just feels like a little bit of an oversight that could maybe be kind of engineered out of there pretty easily. And lastly, there's a USB-C port for recharging the headphones. And over on the left ear cup, the M1000ANC does have a 3.5mm port. So that means the headphones can be used in an analog mode from more sources. And I always appreciate this as a feature, as it greatly expands the usability of a pair of headphones. On the outside of the right ear cup is a capacitive touch button that allows for multiple gestures to control the media. And that can be tapped and swiped for a few different controls. Tapping it twice will play and pause audio. Swiping forward will go to the next track. Swiping backwards will go to the previous track. Swiping up will turn the volume up, and swiping down will turn the volume down. And for the most part, all these controls worked pretty well, although I did find myself occasionally having to hunt for the button on there. This is usually why I prefer a physical button, as you don't really have to hunt for it to find the little capacitive area. But once I actually found it and was hitting the button squarely in the middle, everything seemed to work well here. And the M1000ANC also has an ambient audio mode, so with ANC it'll block everything out, but in this ambient mode you can hear a little bit of what's going on around you. And the way to activate that is kind of unique. When you have the headphones on, if you just hold your hand over the ear cup on the right, just make physical contact with it, it will kind of lower the volume of the audio being played, but then also pipe in through the ANC microphone, pipe in some audio so you can kind of hear what's going on around you. And there are a few things that I think the M1000ANC nails, and comfort is definitely one of them. Like a lot of other Bluetooth ANC headphones like this, they're very lightweight, coming in at 263 grams, so that's great for, all-day comfort, or if you're on a long flight, this will be plenty comfortable for all of that. I mentioned that the headband is pretty thin up here, and there's a little bit of padding, but because they're so lightweight, you really don't need a whole lot of padding across the top. And that combines with the ear cushions, which are really well padded. It's also that very soft, supple, protein leather that we see on a lot of Bluetooth ANC headphones. And that's pretty important because this helps to make a better seal around your ear as well. A big part of how these headphones work, first you want to block out as much ambient audio as possible just with the ear cushions, and then you rely on the microphone and technology to block out some of the other stuff. So I found these to be very comfortable for extended use. These headphones also worked well for me for working out and doing different, physical activities. Typically with headphones, if they're on the heavier side, if I'm laying down doing a bench press, that might cause a few issues where it kind of feels like they're falling off. But because these are so lightweight, I really didn't have any issues with that. I found these to be great for doing, like I said, a variety of different exercises when I was working out. All right, and moving on to how do they sound? I mean, this is another area where I feel like the M1000ANC does everything really well. As a closed back pair of ANC headphones, there isn't much of a soundstage to speak of. Everything feels pretty close to the ear, but stereo separation and imaging are good for the M1000ANC. And we'll get to how the Dirac Spatial Audio changes that here in a little bit. In the standard mode, as instruments and audio cues come into play during Sound and Color from the Alabama Shakes, each has a different position and can easily be picked out amongst the other audio, even with this kind of narrow soundstage. Monoprice claims a frequency response of 20 to 20,000 Hz, which is kind of like the standard from the 40mm drivers. And throughout that range, the M1000ANC headphones keep a well-balanced sound with deep lows that aren't out of control. Overall, I'd put this sound into more of the reference category rather than, a super fun sound that enhances low-end frequencies substantially. But the lows are deep, and I've never found them to be muddy even at maximum volume. Pop tracks and metal tracks are a blast with the controlled lows that give a solid bass for the rest of the audio range. Mids are also well represented without a noticeable boost or cut really. They're right where I like them to be for metal, like my favorite test missed by Protest the Hero. The guitars were easily distinguishable. If anything, there's maybe a slight boost in the upper mids, giving the M1000ANC a brighter sound overall. On the highs, once again, things are bright but kept well under control. This is maybe one area where I can see a little bit of tuning to the audio. There were some interesting things happening with cymbals on Mist by Protest the Hero. The hi-hat was clearly audible, almost more forward than I'm used to, and it sounded a little bit on the compressed side. I'm not quite sure what was happening there. And then there were a few cymbal audio cues that I'd never really picked out during Dancing with a Stranger by Sam Smith. Once again, it was just something that I noticed that I hadn't really noticed with a lot of other headphones. But overall, the sound from these headphones is great for multiple genres of music. There isn't an app to customize that sound at all, but I think that most people will be happy with the default EQ. But if you are a bass head that wants more low end, you might want to look elsewhere. So that was all kind of in the standard mode. There's also this Dirac Spatial Audio sound mode as well, which can be enabled with a single press of a button here, so it's really easy to turn on and off, so you can kind of A/B test and see which one you like better. And in use, it definitely does make the audio sound more spacious in my experience. On pop tracks like Dancing with a Stranger by Sam Smith, this worked well to make it sound like there was a broader soundstage. It's kind of hard to describe, but it sounds like the headphones are just kind of pulled away from your ears a little bit, and the audio is coming from just a little bit further away to the left and the right. It keeps most of the same audio quality throughout there, but I did notice a few changes. I really enjoyed it on Dancing with a Stranger, but on songs like Mist by Protest the Hero, it is more of a mixed bag. It did seem to widen that soundstage, but I also noticed that it made some changes to the EQ that I didn't necessarily care for. It changed the sound of the guitars enough that I usually preferred having this mode turned off. But like stated before, the good news is here that it's easy to enable and disable, so you can use it as you like for the audio that you're listening to in the moment. I did enjoy it on most pop tracks and even Hotel California live on MTV by the Eagles. So an interesting feature there with the Dirac Spatial Audio that we don't really see on a whole lot of ANC Bluetooth headphones. And moving on to ANC, I found it to work well, especially in this kind of budget price category. It's nice to have the two different levels of it. It didn't really seem like the lower level did a whole lot. It helped a little bit, but I often found myself using it on the high mode most of the time. And I found this to work similarly to other Bluetooth ANC headphones that I've tried. They work really well at taking out lower frequencies. If there's like an air conditioner or traffic or something that's just kind of constantly there, this works well to take that out, but it's still going to let some of the higher mids and highs come through. And I did notice, when outside, because there are microphones on the outside here, it is using a hybrid system, so that means it has microphones on the outside and inside the ear cup to work to activate that ANC. When you are outside, it does start to pick up a little bit of wind noise. So if you're going for a run or on a bike or something like that, ANC isn't the greatest experience outside because in my experience, you do get some considerable wind noise. But there is that physical switch on the right ear cup. It's easy to turn off and play around with and see what's best for your situation. When I am indoors and I have a portable AC unit here in my office, I found this to work really well at kind of knocking that out and making audio through the headphones a lot easier to hear. All right, so I kind of talked about that Monoprice flavor to these headphones at that price. And that's kind of just a few different things with like the fit and finish that just make it feel like a little bit more of a budget pair of headphones, which I think it is at $130. The touch controls can be a little troublesome for me. I usually prefer those physical buttons, as I mentioned, because those are a little bit easier to locate. The power on time, audio cue, and Bluetooth pairing combination combination was just frustrating to me as well. Like I said, you do get used to it after a little while, but I also think this could just be designed a little bit differently. Another small thing related to that is when the headphones are powered on and connected to a device, the little voice audio prompt that comes on says something like "SOT connected," which I don't really understand. And you know, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just another thing that kind of distracts from the overall fit and finish of these headphones. And just physically, it also just feels a little bit on the cheap side. You know, at some of these connections here, they just feel loose, which, you know, is great. It's really easy to fold up and it's compact, but at the same time, it just kind of feels a little bit cheaper and, you know, feels just kind of loose. So just kind of that fit and finish quality that makes these feel a little bit more like a budget pair of headphones. And a note on battery life here, it does do up to 60 hours, but that is with ANC turned off. When you have ANC turned on, it takes a significant hit. It kind of brings that down to about 40 hours. So, I mean, 40 hours is still a lot of time for a wireless pair of Bluetooth headphones. You know, I very rarely had to charge these throughout my month of testing these. All right, and this does have a Bluetooth microphone built in. We're recording on the Voice Memos app through my iPhone 8. Kind of tap around here and see where the microphone is. So it is on the right side. And I do have the portable AC unit running in here, so we'll see how this does at knocking out background noise. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of what the microphone sounds like on the Monolith by Monoprice M1000ANC. So overall, wrapping up here, for good sounding ANC headphones on a budget, the Monolith by Monoprice M1000ANC deliver without breaking the bank. You know, if you're in search of the best in terms of audio quality, features, fit and finish, then you're definitely gonna have to pay more than $130 for that. But if you're looking for something that sounds good, has pretty decent ANC, a great battery life, and you know, you're looking to spend somewhere around $100 and $130, then this is definitely a good option that delivers on that front. But you might have to look past a few frustrating bits. All right, and that's gonna wrap it up for our review of the M1000ANC from Monolith by Monoprice. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. If you're looking for some other videos to watch, check out our review of the wireless ANC Razer Opus, as well as our most recent video. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.